Welcome to A-Grade Properties. Congratulations on taking some time out to educate yourself on property investing in Australia. Greg Dell is here to show you how we research and analyse data available about the property investing market in Australia. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, Greg Dalla here from A-Grade Properties. After the overwhelming response we got from our launch the other night down in Brisbane there at the Broncos Club and the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast the week before regarding the scorecards that we do up for properties, I thought I'd run through a bit of what we actually do to produce that scorecard, because that's just the end summary of the whole thing. So what I thought I'd do is just today is just to run through quickly the first part that we do with a real client. So here we go. Come on, here we go. This client is actually I'm doing some research today for the client. That's why I decided to actually video a little bit about what we do. The client is a SMSF trustee. The goal is to find the best long-term growth apartment within 5 kilometres of the Brisbane city. For this client, that's what they particularly want. The budget is $450,000, and that's been discussed with their and pre-approved with their broker. And they've got $120,000 of the super fund that they're going to use as a deposit and to cover costs. So the super contributions of $100 per week can be used for cash flow support, because this particular trustee has a fair bit going into their super fund in contributions each month. Now, the strategy is to buy and hold long term for 15 years until he retires. So let me just show you how we get into this. One of the first things I do is I go to statistics.oesr.queensland.qld.gov.au, and then Queensland Regional Profiles. This, when you bring this page up, it's a really handy overall big picture sort of data collection site. So it allows you to break things down into reasonably small packages. I always go to to start with, I have a look at the statistical area level 2, which is just a groups of 3,000 people or more, or round about that area. So that's the sort of level that we can drill down. You can do bigger ones here. This one looks at the whole LGA. Local government areas. Level 3 is actually for 30,000 people, etc., etc. So what I've done is I've actually gone through and I use the map. So you can select by map or name here, but I use the map. So let me just drill in here a little bit to show you what I've done. So you can see I've actually selected a few suburbs around Brisbane city, inner city there to start with. So it's pretty easy. If you click on them, click on that little patch, it drops it out. So Kelvin Grove's gone from my list over on the left-hand side here. So if I want Kelvin Grove back in, which I do, I just click on it again, and it highlights in red, and it drops it into your list that you want to research. So I've given this a name of inner Brisbane suburb, whatever, it doesn't really matter. The comparison area, there's a couple of options here. I want to compare this against the Greater Brisbane statistical area, and I want residential only. The other thing I always do is I only look at the frequently updated topics. You can get all the topics, but it brings in a lot of old stuff, which is all from the 2011 census, which is all very good, but it's not what we're trying to predict the future, not look so much at the past, although we do look at the past in some areas. So when you hit the create a report, it takes you through and develops this report that sometimes takes a minute or two, so I've done it already. So this is the report, the PDF that you get, and it's really quite interesting. It pulls a lot of things together in the one spot, so we can have a quick look at the overall comparison of those different suburbs. So first one up, I've just scrolled through the first couple of pages of waffle, and the demography. So if we have a look here, this is an estimate resident population of this area, and it's the latest. Let me just blow this up a little bit so you can see a bit better. the 2008 to 2013 average annual growth rate. So even though some of this information is old, in fact it's all old, it's at least a month, sometimes 3 months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes 12 months old, some of the information, but you'll just see how we run through this. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking at all these different categories, and there's lots of different stats that come up. You know, there's buckets of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through and just have a look at the suburb. We've got a list of suburbs over here, and I just grab that list and I chuck it into a spreadsheet so that I can keep track of all the different bits and pieces. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at the highest average annual growth rate for these, which ones actually had the fastest growth over the last, you know, from 2008 to 2013. And you can see the standout here is actually South Brisbane, which, you know, some people will call West End the same. And if you have a look at the other one here, is West End. So the next one, the third best one, is actually Kelvin Grove. So this is financial, the average annual growth rate from 2008 to 2013. So this shows us pretty quickly. I'm not looking at Brisbane City. I'm just looking at the Fortitude Valley down. Because the Brisbane City is just throws the whole thing out. We're not looking at it right in the actual city. All right, so what I do is I actually have a look at the best ones here, and I pick the best three. So the one, South Brisbane, then we've got West End, and then we've got Kelvin Grove is the next best one. And what I do is I throw it into a spreadsheet. So let me just bring this up here. If you have a look here, I've got the population growth and all these other categories we're going to have a look at in a minute. And I give them a score. So I've given South Brisbane 3, West End 2, and Kelvin Grove 1. Okay, so that's what I do with each of these bits of information that we get. So if we run through and we look at the next one, the population by sex and age, well, I'm not really interested in you know, sort of their age group at the moment and the sex as such, because, you know, men and women rent places, don't they? So if I go down here, what I am interested in though is the median age. I'm looking for an increasingly younger age group for this particular project, because we're looking for young professionals. We don't want to know where the old professionals are going to. We want to know where the young professionals are going to, because they're the ones who are going to have the increasing capacity to pay rent. So this figure here, this is the percentage change from 2003 to 2013. So I pick out the ones that have dropped the most here. So the ones that have dropped the fastest here are South Brisbane again. So that's gone down 2%. The next one is 1.6, which is Kelvin Grove again. And the next one is 1.4, which is that comes across to New Farm. So I run through all of these different areas here, and I'll just do them very quickly here. But the next one is I'll put those figures, basically scored them 2, 3, 1 in the spreadsheet again. Population projection is another, this is a good one that I look at. So we have a look here to see which ones are standing out, and straight up you can see this is from 2011 to 2036, so this is a projection of annual population growth. And the standouts here are quite obvious. So we've got South Brisbane again. We've got this one here, which is Newstead Bowen Hills, and we've got Fortitude Valley. Okay, now none of this is really surprising, but you'll see how it all comes together. The lowest one there is actually 0.3, which is Spring Hill. Okay, so that's self-explanatory. West End again is fairly high at 4.2. So I pick 3, 2, 1 again. Highest, the best prospect here for future capital growth is the one with the highest projected growth in population, and that's at South Brisbane. And then so 3 points for that, 4 points, 2 points for Bowen Hills, and I'd give 1 point to Fortitude Valley. Sometimes I might give, if they're equal, I'd give them 1 point each or 2 points each. So that's the population forecast. And I'm just going through this fairly quickly so that you get the rough idea of what we do. Births and deaths, not really interested in births and deaths. Society, early childhood care services. Now, this is something I do take a lot of notice of. Not so much for this particular client, because the majority of people living in the apartments in the inner city are not going to have many children. However, it is really good for their other projects when we're looking at townhouses or house and land packages. So here you can see, well, see, it really does stand out, doesn't it? So nine daycare services basically in West End. So that's here. We've got 8 in South Brisbane. So that whole area has got quite a few daycare centres, which does make a difference to the rents that you can get, because if people are in apartments in the inner city and they have got kids, they want to be able to be very close to daycare centres. So if we just have a quick look through here, I'm going to score this one this time. So it's 9. West End gets a 3. South Brisbane gets an 8. And we've got Kelvin Grove again. Now, see the little pattern that's coming up here already? Kelvin Grove, South Brisbane, West End, that sort of area. Spring Hill, Spring Hill's got 7 daycare centres. That could be that you just store that sort of little bit of information away for later on. So I score them on the spreadsheet again. Vocational education and training. This is really important, because this is where this gives you the number of students that are enrolled in technical colleges, universities, etc., etc. So where are the students enrolled? And you can see that Brisbane City, we're not going to consider that, but the next highest is West End. So there's a lot of students living in this area that are, there's a lot of students in the area, because there's a lot of spaces for students in the area. So we've got private and government educational facilities included in all this. So again, I'll go through and I'll score these, but we got the best one is West End. The next one, I think there is New Farm, and we've got Kelvin Grove again coming up fairly well there. So I score them on the spreadsheet again. Aged care services, not really relevant for this particular job. Reported offences. Now this is crime. Which suburb's got the biggest crime? And this does make an effect on the rental prices for different areas. So if you have a look through here, well, look at that, 130,000 reported crime offences, and this is from 2012 to 2013, but it does give us a bit of an indication of where the heavier crime areas are. Now that's pretty obvious, because this is offences against persons and against property. So it's a combined one there. So that'd be a lot of the drunks on Friday night at Fortitude Valley nightclubs, I'd say. But if we go down and have a look at here, see South Brisbane's got a fairly high crime rate as well. So, you know, what we're looking for here, the one that's going to get the 3 points is the one with the lowest crime rate. So that'd be New Farm. And again, Kelvin Grove. And then the next one is, what's that, West End. Now, West End looks a bit safer than Fortitude Valley, doesn't it? But then again, Brisbane South. Now, that'd be because that would include the actual South Bank precinct. So there'd be a lot more offences there. Yeah, look, so you can see, it's offences against property. So that'd be all sorts of theft in houses and handbag snatches and all sorts of things. But I do score this, and I go for the lowest gets the 3, and then 2, 1 up from there, because it is important. Okay, the economy, medium rent. Now this is a good one. So this is actually 12 months ending September 2014. So this one's updated, it'll tell you up here, every 3 months. The next one's due out in January 15. So this gives us a quick snapshot of the median rent. Now we're looking at 2-bedroom units, so we're looking here. We're looking for the highest median rent, so we'll go through and mark that. So the highest one is $555. We're not looking at Brisbane City, remember. So $555 South Brisbane. The next best is Newstead at I think, yeah, 540, and the next one is 510 at West End. So I'd give them a 321 there again. I don't look at the lodgements not with this one. This is just the number of the numbers there, but they're all fairly consistent there. So the next one is the unemployment and labour force rate. Now, I do look at this in other areas, but in this particular situation, I'm not going to score it. It's not that relevant for me with this particular area. You can have a quick look through them. It's quite interesting this was updated in June quarter 2014. So it's amazing, isn't it? South Brisbane's actually got the highest, Fortitude Valley's got the highest unemployment rate. And South Brisbane is 6%. The best unemployment rate here is actually Newstead. So I might mark them, but I'm not sure I don't think I'll put them in my calculations, but I'll just mark them down 321 on the spreadsheet as well. Industry and development, this is very important. Now this is updated from June 2014, so you can, and there's a bit of a lag before they actually even update it, so it's not that accurate, but it does give you an overall picture. So what we're looking at here is the residential building approvals. So houses and other, and then it's got alterations. So we're looking at this residential building approvals, new other, and we look down here and look at that. Now this is 12 months ending June 2014. So what we're looking at here, and I'm going to take particular note of the fact that Newstead is a standout with new approvals. So this is the new approvals for apartment buildings. Obviously, there's not many house and lands in this area. So that's actually quite interesting that Newstead's got a lot going in, a lot of approvals, which means they'll be starting to build next year. They'll probably be finished in 2016, 2017 sort of time frames. The others are all fairly consistent, a couple of hundred. Spring Hill has got a low number, which is obvious reasons. West End 800 is probably the next one. So if we look here, West End's got a lot of applications in, but Newstead has got a lot as well. So I'm going to have a really close look at the local government websites to actually zero in on that and see exactly what's been approved, whether there are, one-bedroom apartments, two-bedroom apartments, or whether they're large complexes and small complexes. I think it's not rocket science here. We can work out roughly what's going on there. So I'm going to score that as well on my spreadsheet, and the suburb with the lowest number of new approvals is obviously better because we want to restrict supply. So this actually gives you a graphical representation of those figures above. This one here, the number of residential approvals in Brisbane City. See, this is that whole group of suburbs all put into the one graph. So there's a spike in approvals in December there, and this is the approvals, the value of the approvals. So this one here is the main one. This is the number. So look at that spike. It's gone right up. You can see over the years, this is going back from 2008, it's been a slow rise up. This is the sort of thing that we look at quite closely on other sites to actually determine what the supply and the demand is. But there's been a spike in December. That's for approvals. So it takes a while to get these things from approval to actually, becoming a hole in the ground and then built. So that's probably, and you're probably looking at around about 2 years as an average to get these things out of the ground. So 2015, there's going to be quite a bit come on the market compared to previous years. So we look at the sales volumes in these areas to see what the sort of, we know what the supply is looking like, and we can zero in on that quite easily, but then we look at what the demand is, because the demand might have gone up as well. Okay, so you can have a bit of a look through those. Business counts. Now this is a good one as well. It tells you how many businesses there are in each suburb, and this is important because we want to be close to work hubs. So this is the number of, it splits it up a fair bit here, but the total number here is what I look at just quickly, and we've got 2,185 in Spring Hill, which is again quite obvious. The next best one is in Newstead, okay, 1,940. And the next one up from there is Fortitude Valley. So, okay, so West End has got 13 and South Brisbane 12. So it's reasonably consistent, except for these two here. Kangaroo Point, well, that's a bit smaller demographic, so that's okay. Kelvin Grove again is a bit smaller, so there's not as much work out there as residential. So what I do is I score these. The one with the most, I give the 3, 2 and 1 again. So that's the number of businesses. And then we go to the turnover. Sometimes I'll look at that. I'll just have a quick look through the actual breakup of the turnover you know, sort of, and just so it all goes in the back of the mind, and I make notes, etc., for this each particular job. Now the business, so the next ones are really that they break them up into the interesting bits and pieces, but this is not going to be relevant. This chart's not going to be relevant to our scorecard. So it is interesting though. If you want to have a quick look here, the 4,000, most of the biggest percentage of people, or biggest number of people rather, are working in the financial insurance industry. I think, yeah, 4,000. So in that in all of those suburbs, the highest employed sector is in the finance and insurance area, and then after that, renting, hiring, real estate services, professional, scientific, and technical services. So it's interesting stuff, and you just put all that in the back of your head as well. So that's basically what we do. So that's a quick overview of what we run through, and this is what I ended up with this one. So I just slapped this into just a little spreadsheet, just a scorecard, one of the ones that we use to build the big scorecard. So it's really interesting here. If you have a look here, West End has scored 11. I haven't included the unemployment. So if you see that only takes up to there, but we're looking at, okay, Kangaroo Point scored nothing, Kelvin Grove got a 7, New Farm, Bowen Hills rather, South Brisbane and West End. So the standout areas here on the big picture, the first thing that we do out of all of these suburbs here, overall, the big picture is saying the best areas to go to are West End and South Brisbane. Basically the same area. Then as against your more New Farm, Newstead area, second best, and then Kelvin Grove, well, that's just not going to quite, the stats might be a little bit out of whack there as well. Fortitude Valley, though, interesting, only came up with a total of 2 scores, so we got 1 for population projection and 1 for employment. Whereas South Brisbane got 3 for trend and population projections, age dropping again 3, childcare it's got the 3rd highest, and close by in West End. So you can see what I'm doing here. I've actually just gone through and done a quick overall to get a rough idea of the big picture stuff from the historical information off that site. So what we do then is the next stage is we go and we compare each specific growth area and against other sources. We get into a bit more detail, taking specific notice of the supply and demand and completion dates. For this particular job, it's quite important because you can have an oversupply established very quickly. There's a lot of news in the press about oversupply of inner city apartments in Brisbane. The next thing we do, we end up with a short list of 2 or 3 areas from the combined results. So we've just done 1. We'll probably do 4 different spreadsheets and 4 different sites to get the big picture. And then we'll go down to a short list of 2 or 3 areas. And then we'll go, like for instance, there's over 28 developments in the area so far. So we need to narrow them down, and we'll start looking at the price per square metre, the yields and the specific locations. That's the stage 2, and then we go further into the actual tenant, what the tenant wants, the design of the properties, and a few other bits and pieces. Okay, so that's it from me. I hope you enjoy that, and I'll do a few more of these videos as time permits, and put them up on the site for you. Okay, cheers, bye-bye.
Thanks for investing your time into your education in the property investing market in Australia. We're glad to have been able to help you, and if you'd like to know more about our services and research scorecards that we use for the Australian property market, please feel free to jump online on agradeproperties.com.au and contact us via our web form. Alternatively, you can call us on 0414 535 202 and we'd be happy to help you build your property portfolio today.